Thank you very much, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's a privilege and honor to address you. Coming from California for this weekend of very intensive discussions, it's been really worth it. Thank you, Ram Madhavji, for the kind invitation. Last week I was in Madrid, Spain, and they were having a Global Industrial Cooperation Conference where 29 countries were represented, and some of the issues and discussions that took place there in the global context and the geopolitics and geoeconomics that prevail today draw some parallels in terms of technology, and I will go through some of that, those thoughts as it relates to India 2.0 and the subject of this conference. As we all know, this decade seems to be a great reset from various perspectives. The COVID-19 pandemic was obviously on the negative side. The meta era will possibly be one on the positive side, as we have seen through several speakers. However, I would submit that that is subject to how it is tackled, and I think that is the reason for some of the discussions going on. Economic growth, of course, in India has gained tremendous momentum over the last few years. The growth charter continues today also, and will do so in the near and distant future. What India needs is advancements in technology, much more than just simply pure play capital investments, and we're seeing that happening now. As we see India rebooting to the meta era, there is a need to invest exponentially in technological innovations. Reboot, as the conference subtitle suggests, means to reload the operating system, to start it up again. Meta era is the futuristic world where technology is the center with the balance in the periphery. As the world moves to the meta era, India also has to, and should I say is well on its way. With the incredible leadership of the government and Team India, all aspects and all stakeholders, the evolution of the meta era is far more exponentially growing for the balance of this decade. So I see India being self-aware and self-reflective at the same time. And India has to continue to reach, reform, regulate, respond, as well as revolutionize at the same time to be able to create the targeted impact by the end of this decade. What India has to its advantage is its demographic dividend, and this should be utilized in the most optimal manner. There is development across sectors, for example, the energy sector, which is evolving with innovations focusing in hydrogen and other renewables, and automobiles, as we all see, is witnessing the e-revolution. The lines between virtual and physical are blurring by the day. Such technological advancements will impact every strata of the society, from economy to the culture to the environment. To imagine an India in the next 25 years, by 2047, would be easier to analyze each segment of technology, from communication technology to electronics to materials, to energy, to chemicals, to aerospace and bioscience, among several others. Today's India is much different than that of 2 decades back. Given the percentage of population having access to the internet and the ever-improving quality parameters of such access, coupled with the burgeoning segment of mini, micro, and small tech-based companies sprouting up all over India, India has an opportunity to define and shape the impending meta era, not just for India, but at a global level. It is required to continuously adjust strategies while keeping the flexibility and speed to address uncertainties and ambiguities. Any anticipated change needs to be viewed as an opportunity to move forward and invest in human capital while parallelly investing in technology. Digital technology, for example, can help firms to innovate and scale quickly with few tangible assets to invest into. In other words, scaling without hard assets. While India currently has to focus on the hard technology in terms of infrastructure and services, there is a need to parallelly focus, I would submit, on the softer aspects of technological innovation. There is a lot of dependence between the two, and given India's plans for the coming 25 years, focusing only on just one of these two will possibly not yield the optimum benefits. Metaverse is the most recent revolution, which we've been all hearing about through the various presentations, which is converging virtual and augmented reality, something that was possibly not thought of by the larger public in the last 5 years. The virtual world is transforming into a state of new normal. Online interactions involve immersive participation by varied avatars, connecting buyers and sellers, enabling socializing in different scenarios, while also allowing distributed collaborations. There's much different from the existing norms of socializing, interactions, and collaborations, and one has to adapt to that. I'll give you an example in Seoul, Korea, where they're reportedly working towards a metaverse ecosystem for all its municipal areas, combining digital twins and virtual reality with the vision to add support to businesses, education, as well as making accessibility to all of the city services consolidated. Just to put things in perspective, there is a 5-year plan to provide much more capabilities around several areas. The first is a services portal for businesses to showcase new ideas. The second is an education portal to bring institutions, campuses together. The third is a tourism portal to allow locals and foreign tourists to explore attractions. The fourth is an infrastructure portal to support large events and exhibits. And the fifth is a portal for co-working spaces, allowing real-time office experience when working from home, as we just saw in the last presentation. All the strata of society get engaged via that one platform. In my view, healthcare, transportation, communication, and security are possibly the 4 areas which are going to see the maximum innovations in technology. Innovations that will be disruptive and also sustaining. From mind mapping robots to 3D printed bones to unmanned systems. Technologies talking to each other and having a certain amount of autonomous behavior is what artificial intelligence is bringing to the table. A decision-making ability to a certain level based on predefined algorithms is what will define the communication between technologies going forward. Digital is being blended with the real world, and there are new ways to visualize work and share ideas. India, for instance, has reportedly started working on 6G. The 6G network is expected to happen by 2030, offering faster internet speeds, creating jobs, and working towards economic progress. The 5G testbed was recently inaugurated, as we heard, and is expected to boost growth in many sectors. Gradually, we are witnessing a decreasing human touch in communications and in technology. And as things get automated even further, the human touch will possibly remain only that, an interface to monitor the developments. Such rapid technological change have their consequences, with the primary one being policymaking. Exponentially evolving technology framework does not beget an equally fast-paced policy framework. There are systems and processes for policy formulation and execution, and hence the risk is technology development may actually outpace policy making, and the latter would only be playing catch-up. As we all know, in business and in government, what cannot be measured will not get done. What India requires moving forward are institutional measures to restructure and reform the entire R&D framework and have 5, 10, 15, 20-year targets with evaluation and monitoring at each milestone period and scope for course correction where required. Being nimble in that process will be key. And more importantly, these institutional measures need to be in sync with the fast-paced technological disruptions, otherwise they will end up becoming archaic. And as we've all heard and we all are experiencing, the cycle times are getting very compressed as compared to the past. If I were to list down steps on how focus on disruptive technology fast-tracks India's reboot into the meta era, I would put it this way: building scale into the project design itself instead of having iterations and prototypes and then bringing in scale. In the land of over 1 billion people, there will be rarely any dearth in demand and opportunities. Hence, any innovation being planned or done in any sector, be it healthcare, security, transport, communications, it's a huge market. Hence, bringing scale in the initial stages itself saves, I would argue, 3 to 5 years' time, at least, vis-a-vis scaling once there is a foundation. Hence, any R&D work, when being done, should be planned with scale in mind upfront. Focusing on infrastructure to be able to absorb the fast-evolving technology and also be able to blend in the evolution in the existing framework. Like I said, technology is evolving at its own pace, but the population needs to be able to absorb and utilize the same to its fullest. Only then the efforts will bring results. India needs to further invest in people and processes significantly to be able to have the right talent and the right ecosystem for the R&D culture to evolve and fructify. A lot has already been done. Take, for example, Aadhaar, which has now become a platform for social innovation. A unique ID for 1 billion and more people. That is a lot of societal issues being taken care of with one single innovation. I'd like to touch on risk management, which is another important area that India, and for that matter any other country, would need to be mindful when it comes to new, innovative, disruptive technologies in this decade. India must anticipate and effectively manage risks that could potentially come up with respect to collecting, using, storing, and transferring data. Cyber warfare and cyber attacks are a critical area where investments will need to be made. Meta era, while defining and recreating new horizons in technology, will potentially always have risks, and it is in the hands of the user and provider to be able to manage the risks. It would be critical for the stakeholders, including government, private industry, civil society, as well as all other end users, to be able to, in real time, establish standards, regulations, and institutions that put the population in control of their own data. The digital revolution has opened up various more vistas for India and will continue to do so. I believe for India to reboot and sustain and/or thrive in the meta era, it is important to have dynamic policy making at its core. Change with the times and change keeping the future in mind. Both the government and the companies need to work in sync and reshape their go-to-market strategies by committing towards a focused and result-oriented scientific research and development. As India looks to reboot and be a part of and potentially lead the advent into meta era for the world, I have a few possible strategic steps to share with you that can be considered to enhance India's journey in the meta era and to be the global leader. Make best use of the international collaborations where cutting-edge technologies already exist. For example, at General Atomics, areas of national and global security are a priority, including unmanned systems, electromagnetic systems, satellites, lasers, nuclear fusion, nuclear fission, etc. The second would be attracting talent from around the world into India. Third suggestion would be to develop the existing behemoths in technology space in India as global leaders and the upcoming technology startups to be the next leaders in the space. The fourth suggestion would be benchmarking regulatory procedures and processes as per international standards to ensure easier continuity and effective collaborations. Finally, I would like to suggest risk-reward sharing with the attitude that it's okay to fail in R&D is a critical element of successfully continuing the R&D cycle. Ladies and gentlemen, I strongly feel India is in the best position to capture the technology imagination in the decade ahead and lead the way forward for not just India, but the globe. Over 1 billion dreams and aspirations are well on their way to being realized. Thank you.